Hey everyone, Greg Mescall here. Thanks for joining us, USA Water Polo Facebook Live. Great conversation on the way as we're talking with the current champ of the NBC Titan Games and former water polo player. That's why we got him in here, Matt Chan. Matt, thanks for being here.
Oh, it's my pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Hey Matt, we want to get into the whole Titan Games experience, and if you follow us on social media, we shared the clip of Matt winning yesterday. But we talked about your water polo background. Let's kind of start with that for our audience. I know it's been a while since you capped up and maybe took a skip shot, but tell us about your water polo experience.
Yeah, I grew up on the south side of Chicago, in the south suburbs, Homewood, Flossmoor area. I swam competitively from the age of 5 until I graduated from high school and had some success. I mean, we went to, won most of our sectionals and all that stuff every year, conference, and went to state and had some success at state as well. And we didn't have a water polo team while I was in high school. It was established shortly thereafter. But when I went to Western Illinois University, that's where I was introduced. I started as a walk-on at Western as a swimmer. I just didn't have it in me. Lifetime of swimming already. And I just didn't have the will to really just be competitive in that individual sport anymore. And luckily, they had a club water polo team, a CWPA team there that was not really tightly run initially during my freshman year. And I walked on and had a ton of fun with it and got more and more involved as the years went on. And we became more and more organized. We did some fundraisers. We were able to go to nationals we went there 4 years in the conference that we were in. And finally, in my senior year, we finished 9th in the nation in the CWPA nationals. So it was pretty rad. It was a great experience. I was learning from scratch. I knew nothing about the sport other than the little bit of pickup games that we would play after swim practice. So by playing in college, it really fired me up to learn the sport and actually try to be good at it.
And then after you play in college, did you get a chance to try and play masters water polo beyond that, or were you able to try and stay in the aquatics world at all after you move away from Western Illinois?
No, not really. So I moved, when I graduated from college, I moved to Winter Park, Colorado, and obviously small town, mountain town. Their focus is solely on skiing and snow sports and sometimes, summer mountain biking. So I definitely submerged myself into those sports, which was a ton of fun. But when I moved back down to Denver, I definitely looked up the rec leagues for adults, and just a little too far away from me. They're down at BU in that area, and I'm about 45 minutes away from that. So life definitely got the best of me. So my water polo days were limited to college and college only. But I will say this: the things that I learned in college playing water polo, aside from the sport itself, was I learned how to train. During that time, not only did I learn the technique of the sport, and I learned from all of my peers on the team how to play better, but also I learned how to train my body to be better physically. And that's benefited me for a lifetime. We didn't do a lot of dry land or weight training while I was in age group swimming and high school swimming. So when I switched over to water polo in college, the season is pretty short. So I learned how to train in the off season to become better for the actual season. And then the other part of that was, I took a role in the team that was pretty neat too. I don't think I was ever president of the team, but I had some sort of role like that. I can't remember what it was. And every year I took a different role where, we had to organize as a team because we were receiving minimal funding from the university as a club sport. But when we had to travel to, let's just say St. Louis for our conference, or Miami for the nationals, or Miami of Ohio, we went there as well. We had to fund that. And, that was a big learning experience for me on how to organize as a group, fundraise, and then try to manage booking flights and rental cars and establishing a budget and all of that stuff. It was a really cool experience that it's given me a lot of confidence now that I think back on it, on a lot of the stuff that I've done in my life since then. So it was a really good experience.
And you hit on, I think, the classic club experience, right? The one where the more you put into it, the more you can get out of it. You talked about kind of building that program up, and then also it's one of many club water polo athletes know this, right? You sometimes have to fundraise and do those things to try and get to those competitions. It's funny that some of the other stuff you talked about, what the sport gave you when we were putting out there that you won, and congratulations. Even people that didn't watch the show were like, of course a water polo guy won it. Like, that makes total sense, because there's such a pride of like, this is the toughest sport. If you play water polo, there's nothing you can't do. What do you remember? And I know, as you said, it was a team that you were helping build in college, but from a toughness aspect, to transition, and no knock on swimming, but to go from a kind of an individual sport to one that has some physical elements, what was that like for you to kind of move into that arena?
Oh yeah, I mean, like you said, I mean, that's why I switched. Was I wanted to be part of a team element. The individual sport thing, I mean, relays, you're still an individual, even though you're part of, a 4-person team in an event. It's just not the same, where you have to work together, pass the ball, set up plays, the whole 9 yards. And that was completely new to me, other than my minimal exposure in football and stuff like that I played growing up. And the fact that I got to combine my swimming skills with a team sport, the swimming was no problem. But jumping into the organized effort in the water was new to me, and it was tough at first during that freshman year, but I really picked up on it, and it was a ton of fun. The physicality of the sport itself is something that I really loved. At first, when we started playing other teams, for the first few games that I would play, I was like, holy crap, this is not like when we scrimmage. It's a little more violent, which I really liked, because it was a new problem to the game that I had to come up with a solution to. And I'll be honest with you, during that whole first year, it was a learning process every single game, that was like, okay, I don't know how to deal with this when this guy does this to me. I don't know how to get out of this when this guy has a hold of me this way. So, thinking back on it, like I said, it was like 20 years ago, but by my senior year, I mean, I felt like I was, a pro at this stuff. And it was very, very fulfilling to go to the nationals and perform as well as we did.
It's interesting reading kind of your bio and your journey after college, right? You have kind of an office job in information technology, and then you get into your current world, right, of being a firefighter in Colorado. And I'm curious, how much did team sports kind of plant a seed for you wanting to do something in a team environment professionally?
Yeah, it's a great point, and I didn't really think about it. But I mean, once you have exposure to a team sport, it's really hard to do things on your own. And even though working for something like an IT department, you have a team element because you're all working towards a similar goal. Many times you're just stuck in front of a computer doing your thing, and firefighting is the quintessential team environment where lives depend on each other. If there's a weak link in the team, it's going to be exposed and probably punished, and that's something that definitely I thrive in, because I never want to be the weak link. I usually want to be the leader. I want to be the person or a person in the team that can be looked at as able to get things done. And that was true in water polo. The first couple of years, I was just, a wing or a driver in the water, and not necessarily a good shooter. So as the years progressed, I got better and better, and the ball came to me more often. So that was, it definitely planted some seeds for my adult life.
Now, it certainly benefits you to be in great physical shape to carry out your current job. And maybe this happened during that time or earlier in life. When did you kind of make the pivot to like, I'm not just going to be in functional shape to carry out my work, I'm going to be in an exceptionally good shape?
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. It started in college. When we started playing people, when I realized how fun the sport was, I started training. Like I mentioned earlier, I started training, and that was new to me, other than just swim training, where you build in volume, you build in intensity, you taper down, and then you execute, the game day stuff. And learning to do that in in the off season, that's really what I learned to do, is like basically what you would call like general physical preparedness training. And I learned to do that in college in the off season of water polo. You know, I still swam, but I absolutely did dry land. I did weight training. I did resistance training. And, you know, I've done that ever since then. And it's just gotten more and more organized to where now I'm very efficient with the workouts that I do. I can maintain a very high level of fitness in only an hour of working out per day. And maybe before I had learned what I know now, I was very inefficient. So I'd spend hours in the gym just kind of floating around trying to figure it out.
We're talking with Matt Chan, former water polo player at Western Illinois, and more recently champion of the NBC Titan Games. So reading about your journey to Titan Games, and I know you've done CrossFit Games and other things like that beforehand, but kind of like a serendipitous moment, right, where they ask you to be an alternate and you kind of take this leap to go do it, and then it ends up paying off for you. That's a real, you know, to quote Joel Embiid, trusting the process here, right? To kind of believe that it's going to work out for you.
Yeah, and that's a lesson that I would love for everybody to learn. You know, because I'll be honest with you, the things that have come, the things that I'm most proud of in my life have come because I've trusted the process, because I've taken chances on something that I didn't know what the outcome was going to be, and it's turned into a very fulfilling experience in one way or another. Even some of the things that I look back on that were the worst experiences in my life, I take away things that I've learned from, and that I can apply to you know, things in the future. And you know, I did this adventure race, for example, in 2014. No, it was 2015, and it was supposed to be a 5-day adventure race. It turned into 9 days.
Whoa.
And it was a very I don't want to say it was a terrible experience, but it was an experience that I look back at, and I don't really consider it a fond memories from that experience. But I learned a lot about myself. I learned a lot about my relationship with my wife, because we went together for this thing. So all these opportunities that kind of passed my way, like the Titan Games, yeah, I was going to be an alternate, but even alternates have an opportunity there. And that's what I kind of trusted, was like, maybe I'll get my shot, maybe I won't. And even if I don't, maybe they'll see that I'm a good guy and they'll ask me back for season 3. So, I mean, it was just a chance. I took the 3 weeks off at work, and I went to Atlanta for the filming. And as it turned out, not only did I get to participate, but I won the damn thing. So, you know.
And I have to imagine, and it's got to be something different to see it in person. Just on TV, it looks daunting. It looks intimidating. You have someone like The Rock just marching around the set, yelling things out. When you first step onto that kind of set or stage, or whatever you refer to kind of the area, what's that feeling like? Is it almost overwhelming? How do you take it all in?
Well, the great part about that answer is that you already know what it's like. I mean, you've lined up for a swim off at the beginning of a game, and that's what it feels like. Mm-hmm. Honestly, if it's an important game, you know exactly what it feels like. And you know, I've done that all my life, you know, standing on some blocks, waiting for the swimmers take your mark. That's been my life experience, is preparing for competitions. And it doesn't feel like, you know, of course I get nervous just like anybody else would, but it's not something that's overwhelming. I know that I don't change my game plan because of, you know, the other competitor. I know that I don't let the crowd influence what I do. I know that what my body should feel like at different stages of the game. So, you know, yes, Hollywood is totally different, and there's a lot of lead up and video B-roll stuff that you're going to do. But when you're standing there and beside your competitor, and it's 3, 2, 1, go, and it's on, and I know what to do, just like any other, you know, water polo player or other competitor, you know, in another sport would know what to do. So although it's on a grander scale and it's on television, it still feels the same.
I was thinking about it as you were talking about the world of being a firefighter, and kind of how it is such a high stakes game to call it that, but it's obviously so much more, that almost the Titan Games is like a clear step down, right? When you're talking about fighting a fire, right? That's true life and death. does that really like give you this confidence and just that know-how, like you were talking about, where you performed in much bigger moments when we're talking about like the real important things. So this game is going to be something you can definitely handle.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. I mean, it's an opportunity, and you don't want to perform poorly. But like you said, firefighting is life or death stuff, and um, just like a water polo game, just like swimming, just like the Titan games. There's a 3-2-1 go moment, and that 3-2-1 go moment is when the tones come out. That's like engine, medic, structure fire, and it's like, okay, here we go, 3-2-1 go. I'm gonna try to calm down. I'm going to make everything slow and smooth, because smooth is good and fast. And I'm going to put my gear on nice and easy. I'm going to keep my heart rate low. And then I'm going to slowly accelerate as I need to and as the situation calls for. So it's definitely life or death. And when you do look on other sporting events that I've been involved in, it definitely has a less stressful feeling than firefighting.
This may be a dumb question, but as someone who doesn't train anywhere near the way that you train, I watch some of these obstacles that you go through. Right? You're swinging a giant hammer, trying to knock a pole down, or you're cranking something. These are things that don't exist right at 24-hour fitness or at Workout World. How do you develop the strength to know you can do those things when you maybe have never experienced them before?
Well, that's a great question, because the Titan Games, we got walkthroughs on each of the events. I think both for liability reasons, they had to have like a legal checkoff where it's like, I understand what the rules are, but also because there are some safety elements, and they gave us a demonstration of an elite level athlete walking through the events and actually performing them, so that we could see how they're performed, kind of what the rules are, where people struggled and stuff like that. So, just knowing myself, I could compare myself to these athletes that were demonstrating this stuff. And I kind of developed a game plan as they were going. I've swung a sledgehammer plenty of times, so I knew that was going to be something that would come naturally. But stuff like the nuts and bolts competition, or the lunar impact that I did with Bartley Weaver, there's elements of that I had no idea how it was going to turn out. And I just had to rely on my athletic ability to just carry me through that stuff. And when I knew I had the opportunity to do something that I've practiced in the past, like swinging a sledgehammer or climbing a ladder, you could tell, I mean, as a viewer, you could tell that I knew what I was doing. And that's where I had the most confidence. Sorry.
Yeah, just even watching back on the replay of kind of your highlights of the finish, you fly through that sledgehammer one faster than everyone else, right? And there is probably a confidence of having done that multiple times. When you finally are able to win this whole thing, obviously just looking at the visuals, it's probably a mixture of elation and exhaustion. But what's the feeling that you remember when you think back on that moment?
Yeah, it was a long road, which I actually think made me feel better about the experience, because I had ups and downs. It made me appreciate the effort of having to work back from the losers bracket to get back to Mount Olympus and face Joe Thomas again. That was a really good experience for me. But at that moment that I lost to Joe Thomas the first time on Mount Olympus, I knew that I could beat him. And the fact that I could potentially get a second shot at it, that fired me up. And I wanted to get back there, prove myself, and take everything beyond that in stride. But I think if you ask my wife, we both had a lot of confidence after that loss, which was pretty cool.
I loved and you probably saw this, the tweet that Joe Thomas put out: after you crushed my soul and discarded my ashes, it was never a doubt from my perspective. You are the true Titan. And that's a guy who played in the NFL. So just lots of mutual respect, it felt like, on this program among all the athletes.
Without a doubt. And, I have to admit, like, the props that Joe gave me, I mean, he's a 10-time Pro Bowler, 11-year veteran of the NFL, sounds like a shoo-in for the Hall of Fame. Obviously, this guy knows how to train. Obviously, this guy has a ton of athletic capacity. the fact that he and I got to go head to head twice, and he said that afterwards was kind of like, oh man, that really means a lot to me. And I'm going to take that with me because I really respect him. And it's just as much as I respect all the other athletes that we competed against. It's just, I mean, to get where he is and where he was in his athletic career, you know how much work is involved in that. And that's something else to be able to go head to head with him.
Yeah, just tremendous. As you mentioned, this great NFL career, lots of really well-known athletes competing right against people like Matt that maybe people had not met for the first time, and that makes it all the more interesting. And then also being I believe the oldest competitor, right, on the program, that was a nice notch, I think, for everyone who's in their 40s who was like, yes, we can still do it.
Yeah, and who knows, I mean, I like when I went into this thing and I started looking around, I'm like, these are all like teenagers. What the hell? And they recover better and all that stuff. But luckily they gave us enough time that the old guy could shine through at the end,
And then you were talking about knowing how to work out. What's it like to be around a guy like The Rock, who his workouts, I mean, there's been articles written about the way this guy trains and eats, and it's just like he's a nonstop machine of lifting weights and working out, not to mention a very big personality. Is that an intimidating figure? What's it like to be around someone like him?
Yeah, I mean, the back of that man's head has abs, so yeah, no, he is very intimidating just because, I mean, obviously there's the fame side of it. I mean, he is arguably the most famous person in the world right now. He has, I mean, he's an athlete. He knows how to train like an athlete. So there's that side of him. And then he's just an imposing individual. I don't know how tall he is. I'd say probably 6'4". Mm-hmm. He's definitely shorter than Joe Thomas, who is 6'8". But he weighs 280 pounds. You go to give the guy a hug and it's just like hugging a bear, and then he talks to you and he's got this deep voice that you've heard on every Instagram movie, so on and so on, that you're just like, yeah, that's The Rock. All right. And he treats everybody with respect. And it was just he's a down to earth guy in person, which was really cool.
Due to the confidentiality rules that come with so many of these shows, you finish, what happened, and you can't really say anything. What's that process like? How long do you have to kind of keep this under wraps before you can finally say, and the show airs, and then you can finally say, yes, I did it?
Yeah. So the two hardest parts about the show being taped in February was, number one, keeping my mouth sealed. I couldn't tell anybody because I would not only lose the potential prize money, but also because they could actually reach out for damages. Mm-hmm. And then try to keep my mom's mouth shut was the really tough part, because she wanted to tell everybody, and she would ask every week, can I tell Facebook now? And it was tough. But I had guys at the firehouse pestering me every single week about who's going head to head, who's, who wins this one, who wins that one. And it's just like, man, I just hold off. So 6 months. And it's really funny. Here's a good example of this. I went into the gym last week and I hadn't gone in for maybe a week and a half. Been doing some outdoor stuff, and I went in there and I tried working out, and people just nonstop walking over. And these are people I see every day, and I have seen for the last 6 months every day. And they'd stop over. They'd be like, "Oh my God, congratulations!" It's like, "Oh yeah, I forgot. Yep, that was last week." And really, it was 6 months ago.
Such a strange experience, and of course, it's hard to stop a proud parent from shouting it from the rooftop. So you understand what mom was thinking there. Yep. Excuse me. Now, another thing I wanted to mention to you or talk with you about, you had talked about overcoming some tough moments in life. You had a difficult injury now, what, six years or so back, that you were able to kind of come back from with your leg, and then to be able to go and to win a Titan Games. I know a lot of people right now are trying to figure out ways to be resilient. It's a pandemic. There's a lot of health issues. They can't play sports the way they want to. They feel like maybe they're getting out of shape the way they were in shape before all this started. What did you learn about resiliency going through that accident and being able to come back?
Well, okay, I definitely did learn a couple things that I've held on to since then. And the biggest thing is that, you're able to overcome everything. I mean, and I do mean it, everything. It's all obstacles, in your path. And for me, that obstacle happened in 2014, and, beat up my leg pretty bad on a mountain bike accident. And what I learned from that was that you have to take time after an injury to heal. And that's just fact. I mean, you need, 6 to 8 weeks of just allowing your body to recover while your immune system's suppressed. Adding more stimulus to your body is unnecessary and is probably not going to promote your health in the long run. So learning to slow down to get better was probably the biggest thing that I learned. But also, like right now, like you said, I mean, people are having a hard time trying to find a gym that they can go work out in. They can't find dumbbells or barbells or bumper plates or whatever to train with on a regular basis. And I think the real lesson is that any movement is better than no movement. And for those people who are like, man, I can't get back in the pool and nothing is as good as swimming, I disagree with that. I think, this is your opportunity to try something that may make your swimming better. And that was another thing. I mean, when I couldn't lift weights with my leg in the shape that it was in, and I had to learn to enjoy cardio movements. I couldn't lift weights. So I actually got a lot better at that stuff over the long run. And now it's something that I absolutely love to do. Long hikes. I hated hiking before, but it was one of the only things that I could do to get outside and have fun. And now we go on really great hikes on a regular basis. So I think this coronavirus and COVID-19 is, even though it's a terrible thing for the economy, it's really depressing people, and socially it's causing problems. It is an opportunity to see a different side of yourself and see a different side of training. So if you just approach some of this stuff from a good mindset, I think we can improve from it. And it's difficult to kind of see it from that side.
Yeah, but that's certainly useful advice, and I like the point too about healing and giving yourself time to heal. So many people want to get back out there immediately, and that's how you get into a second injury or re-injuring the same situation that you're dealing with. I'm sure a lot of people also, you talked about everyone kind of approaching you in the gym and saying like, "Hey, awesome job," but I bet a lot of people are saying like, "Hey, man, like how do I get in the shape that you're in, or like how do I at least try and step it up a notch? Maybe I don't need to win Titan Games, but I at least want to like get it together a little bit more here when it comes to fitness." I know there's a program that you're feeling good about that maybe could apply to anyone and everyone.
Yeah. Well, first of all, I think the one takeaway from fitness is it's not going to happen overnight. And my journey has been a lifelong journey from literally the age of 5 until today, with very minimal breaks in that time frame. I mean, it's just consistency is king, and that's what's going to get the results. And it doesn't need to be crazy. Like we said, it can be just hiking. It can be walking 10,000 steps a day. But as long as you're consistent with something, you're going to find that your body's going to thank you. Your hips, your knees, everything's going to feel better than if you're sitting stationary. So movement is the key. Consistency is the king. But then the thing that I've found, having done so many different methods of training, everything from very singular training like running or mountain biking or swimming, just like one thing, is that actually what you get the most benefits from is mixing it up, having different phases of training throughout the year. And that's where kind of CrossFit entered into my life. I really enjoyed and learned a lot from doing CrossFit style training, because you have the novelty of every day is a little bit different. Therefore, there's no stagnation in your training. It's just always a little bit different. You're always learning something new. And 99% of the people their bodies respond very well to that variance in training. So in the off season, that's what I would recommend pretty much any water polo player does is, have some variance in their training by getting out of the pool and doing dry land and doing cross training style exercises, whether that's, HIIT or whether that's CrossFit or whether that's, some other something that I don't know. I write a program. It's called Train for the Win, Train FTW Thrive. And it's meant for guys like me. I write it for myself and I just share it with everybody else. So the 42-year-old guys that don't want to walk around like banged up all the time. It's not a typical CrossFit program. We don't do high risk, low reward movements like you see a lot in the CrossFit programs. but it does take some elements out of it. We do high intensity exercise a couple times a week. We do a lot of low intensity exercise. So maybe 2 or 3 days a week, we do low intensity exercises that are a little bit longer. And then of course, there's always some weight training and some body weight exercises. So we do a 2-week free trial on it. So anybody that wants to try it and you don't like it, just email us and we'll cancel it for you and we'll send you your money back. So it's risk-free, and would love anybody to try it because I love it.
And what's the best way for people to check that out? They follow you on social media or go to a website or?
Oh yeah. So we do have a website, it's trainftw.com. And again, that program is called Thrive. And then the Instagram handle is great. And the YouTube channel is awesome. If you're just looking for exercises, we have like 2,500 videos of just different exercises, no talking, which is awesome because, you know, we found that, you know, people our age, they're like, yeah, skip over the fluff. Let me just see the damn exercise already. So most of our videos are like 20 seconds long, which is great. But the Instagram handle is at train_FTW.
Excellent, good stuff. And we may have to get you back in the pool soon. As we're doing this chat, someone commented from Colorado, the Rocky Mountain Neptunes, they practice in Thornton. I don't know if that's anywhere near where you are, but
yeah, it is.
They have some pool time, I guess, when things open back up, ready for you. So we may have to connect you with the Rocky Mountain Neptunes to get you over there to check out some water polo practice. Maybe at least even talk to some of the kids over there. I'm sure they'd be pumped to meet a Titan Games champion.
Go Neptunes! All right, I'll check that out.
Excellent. Matt, this has been awesome. Thanks so much for taking the time, and congrats again on the win, and best of luck with everything else going forward.
Okay, thanks for having me on. Really appreciate it.